Ciao friends and welcome to Simple Italian Cooking. My name is Liz and I'm so glad you're joining me today because I've got a really great recipe that if you're looking for a way to have pasta without having pasta and you want to use zucchini instead, oftentimes this is called Zoodles. I got a great recipe for you, and this is great for vegetarians. This is great for people that are really trying to cut back on carbs. This is great even for vegans, with one caveat that you use vegan cheese, which I don't have. But I have tried it before and it's actually pretty good. So I'm going to go through this, and you can step through it with me. You can learn how to make this, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's one of my favorite ways to have a non-pasta pasta-like dish. So we're going to make our own special tomato sauce. It's going to be a fresh tomato sauce, and everything can come pretty much right from the garden. A few things that you're going to need. You're going to need some zucchini. You're going to need some garlic, olive oil. We're using extra virgin. You want to use that extra virgin. I'm using organic as well. And some fresh tomatoes. And we'll get into each of those. And, of course, some cheese at the end. But in terms of how much zucchini, so this particular recipe I'm doing is I'm using one large zucchini. Any type of zucchini will work. There's lots of different types out there. You wouldn't believe it. I talk about it in my zucchini Italian style cookbook, and link below. And I'm using on average, it's one small zucchini per person is typically the average ratio that I go for. So this is a nice large one. So this is about 1.5 servings, and that would be fine for a light meal. First thing we're going to do is make the sauce, because while sauce is cooking down, we'll go ahead and prepare this, and I'll show you how I do it and the tips, and you'll be really happy. So I'm excited to do this recipe because people I know are on special restrictive diets and they love Italian food, but it's very, very hard to really enjoy Italian food when you're on a gluten-free diet or a dairy-free diet. And that's just like, it's really frustrating. I hope I never have to go on a restrictive diet like that, because I'm going to be really up the creek. So the first thing we do is we heat up the olive oil. I'm using about 1.5 tablespoons over a low-medium heat, because we're going to saute some garlic right away. And this is basically just a very simple fresh tomato sauce. It's olive oil, garlic, and tomatoes. Hey, I'm all about simple, right? Simple Italian cooking. By the way, if you like easy Italian recipes that taste great, please subscribe, because I come out with these recipes all the time. And sign up for my newsletter, because I send out weekly recipes and helpful tips and cooking tips. So if you're a fan of Italian food, there's no reason why you can't make it yourself. I do. And you don't have to be Italian. I mean, I'm Italian, but you don't have to be to enjoy great Italian food. So I'm just going to roughly chop this up. Well, maybe a little bit more. I'm going to try and get it small, so kind of like dicing. I'm using 2 cloves of garlic. I really want that flavor in here. You don't have to do 2 cloves, but I think if you really want to make sure that you get some really good flavor, use 2 cloves. If you have like a really large clove, that's probably fine. So you want to just chop it up real, pretty fine. The smaller you chop the garlic, the more flavor is going to get infused into that olive oil versus having larger pieces. All right, this is definitely going to be nice and garlicky the way that I like it. Feel free to modify the quantities as you see fit. So, okay, you can tell. Oh, by the way, in terms of what type of pan you're using, any type of skillet will do. It can be a frying pan. It can be whatever you want. Don't have it here. Let me get a plate. So I can have a resting spoon, a place to put my spoon. So the first thing I do when cooking the garlic is I want to make sure that garlic is coated with that olive oil. So I always spread it around, okay, to get it nice and coated. And we're just going to let that over the low-medium heat heat up and get infused for a few minutes, okay? While that's happening, like I can already tell it's sizzling, so it's not going to take very long. Induction burners heat up very quickly. So I'm just using a regular slicing tomato because that's what I have on hand. But ideally, like having Roma tomatoes, something with a little bit, a little more meaty would be great. These are nice and juicy. That's fine too. But like I said, if you can have like a Roma style tomato, I would probably go for 3 tomatoes, Roma size, 3 or 4. Oops, this is a nice summery dish. I mean, you can have it any time of year. Okay, so that's cooking up nicely. I'm happy with that. Let's see, let's go ahead and add this in. All those nice juices. And I'm going to do one more tomato here. One thing that you want to make sure is that your garlic does not burn. This is not a dish that you can get away with that. If you overcook the garlic and it turns brown, you need to toss it out and start over again, okay? Don't worry about how big you slice this. I'm just kind of dicing it. It's going to cook down anyway. And there are so many ways that you can actually do a nice tomato sauce. I mean, you can even put this in a blender, turn it into like a crushed tomato. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just, again, keeping it very, very simple. So this is good. And I'm just going to kind of let this cook. And if we got to turn it down a little bit, we will. So what I want to talk about next is the zucchini. And I'm going to keep the cutting board. Just need to give it a rinse. And I will tell you why we are going to need that cutting board, because that is where the zucchini, we're going to spiralize the zucchini. So if you've ever seen one of these, and I don't talk about this much, but I do use it, and I love it. And I wish I actually used it more. But I am a pasta person, so the way a spiralizer works, and if you already know this, you can just fast forward a little bit. But the way this one works, and this is the type, I'm not going to get into all the other types and comparisons. I can do that in a different video. I'm telling you what I'm using, what works for me. I'm not changing. Okay, so it comes with different types of graters. So it only goes in one way. Okay, nice and easy. And get this out of the way here just a little bit. And what's really nice when you do look for one, get ones that have suction cups on the bottom, because you're going to need it. So you just simply, for this one that I have, and I'll put a link down below, you just press down, it pushes the air out and creates that suction. So it's nice and solid, really, really nice. I put this underneath because it's going to pile up here, and I want a place for it to come out and not get on the counter. So all you do is simply cut off the ends, okay? And we're going to use the entire zucchini. Now, here's a tip. If I were to just put this in and spiralize it, you're going to have like this really long strands, and it's kind of a pain to have to cut them. So all you have to do is just cut it in half. Okay? Now you push it in. What you do is you have a little handle here, and hopefully you can see it. Well, it's hard to see if I zoom in, even if I zoom in. And you just simply turn it like this. Okay? And if you want smaller pieces, you can stop turning it, go backwards a little bit, it kind of cuts it, chops it off, and just go ahead and keep twirling. Okay, now you're going to be left with this. Okay, looks kind of cute, doesn't it? Looks like a little green mushroom. We are not going to waste this. Okay, this is zucchini. You can just slice it, dice it, do little rounds, not really going to matter. It's just going to all cook down anyway, this stuff, okay? And this, I'm just going to slice as thin as I can. So here it is, and here's about the length of the strand. So it's still pretty long. Well, actually that one's not. That one is. So, still pretty long, longer than I normally have it. I'm just going to cut this in half, okay? I'm not picky about it. They're different lengths. That's fine. I'm going to do it again. You can even cut it. Let's just try it. I'll just do it quarterly. Okay. Push it in. And that's how easy it is to use a spiralizer. So let's just check on our sauce here. It's cooking down nicely. But I want to make sure that I don't want it too watery. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit. We're really almost ready. So really with this time, I think I'll just go ahead and clean off the spiralizer and get this done, and then this should be ready to add the zoodles. So one thing that I am not doing, and some people will agree, some people disagree, is I am not salting the zucchini. I'm not salting it for a few reasons. One, I'll just cook off the extra moisture, so I don't really care about taking the time to have it sit and drain and everything else. And the only time I'm going to add any salt, I'm not going to do it in here because, again, I don't want to keep pulling the moisture out of this. What I want to do is we're just going to go ahead and lightly cook it so that it softens a little bit, and then basta, we're done. If you want to add salt on the end, that's fine, but we're going to be adding Italian cheese. So Italian cheese, especially using Romano, is very salty, and it gives, I just barely ever have to add salt to my dishes because of the cheese. So it's kind of the same thing, and if you can get away without having the salt, you're just better off health-wise, even if it's a healthy salt like Himalayan or, Himalayan sea salt or whatever kind of healthy salt you have. So this is, I can tell that this is that this smells really good. You'd be amazed how much just garlic, olive oil, and tomatoes, how much flavor. So I can see that the sauce is thickening up a bit, so this is really good. Another thing I want to say too is you have the option, if you have it, is to use fresh basil leaves. That is a great flavor. Now, not everybody likes basil with their dishes, so like for instance, my husband prefers not to have the basil with a lot of the pasta dishes. So I would just go ahead and keep it off to the side. Add it only if you like it. You don't want to cook the basil like the whole time you're cooking your sauce. You add it at the very end if you're going to use it, or you can serve it just add it on top as a topping. It'll wilt down really fast. So don't worry about like the people are going to feel like they're eating leaves or something like that. They're not. It's going to cook down like that. Okay, I think I'm happy with this because I want to have some liquid in there. Okay, so I'm going to do one last look here. Some of these are kind of long. Those are pretty good. Yeah. Sorry, they're so easy to break. If you see any that are super long, just really don't even need to use a knife. So I'm going to go ahead and add them in. And remember, we are not wanting mushy zucchini. So this is not going to be in here for very long. I'm just piling it on top. Put the rest of this in here. And I'm just going to kind of incorporate it a little bit. And that's good. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and I'm going to actually take it off of the burner. So you can see it has cooked down. And I'm just going to take a little bit. Get that long strand in there. Just add some in. So the cheese adds so much flavor to the pasta dish, or the non-pasta dish. This looks delicious. Oh, the smell is absolutely wonderful. Oh, just how I like it. Honestly, the flavor is so good, and I really didn't want this to get mushy, so there actually is a little bit of a crunch. It was really good. Can't stop eating it. Gotta take another bite. zucchini spiralized in replace of pasta made with a fresh tomato sauce in lickety split time. So much flavor. You got to do this recipe. You got to try it. Let me know what you think. I really hope you try this. Make sure to subscribe. If you like the video, if you like this recipe, give me a like, give it a share, or whatever. Really appreciate it. I really hope you try this recipe and it makes a place in your kitchen. Don't forget, if you have fresh basil, try to add that in too. It's really good. I just don't happen to have any right now. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Grazie e ciao.